Super. From Shanghai, Vancouver, Florida. Nice to meet you all. Happy to have you all here on the call. Very amazing to see so many faces from so many nations. Fantastic. So I'm blessed today to have the honor, to announce a little bit on this call and to give you a little bit of an introduction. And, first of all, I want to acknowledge May, May for arranging this amazing call, to bringing this up and having all of us joining here together. You have such a beautiful, massive, huge heart. I don't know if you know how a heart like this fits in a small body like that, but it's absolutely amazing. So thank you so much for setting this up, May. This is really beautiful. And then I have also the blessings and the honor really to introduce somebody very, very special, Dr. Carolyn McMakin. And Dr. Carolyn, I'm gonna unmute you here as well. I know you're already unmuted, and I just wanted to really acknowledge you, probably on behalf of everybody who is, using Healy, using this technology since over 3 years now, because you have make it to your life purpose. The research about frequency, about this amazing technology, about this amazing wisdom that is really changing thousands of people's lives, very soon hundreds, if not millions of people's life. And I think this is really what you're giving to this world and to humanity is really something that needs to be acknowledged, because I've seen you in Poland doing your work, and I've seen you on YouTube doing your work, and I've seen you since years and years and years. We are following you, and you have a big community of really raving fans for your knowledge, for your wisdom, for the things that you have created. Because of people like you bring this technology closer to us. You make it actually possible that we are able to tap into the most powerful form of our lives, which is our energy. You are actually making it possible that people become aware that we are an energy field with a body and not just a body. And there's so much possible. And I also think we can agree on that we just getting started. This technology is, the wisdom is around since I don't know how many hundreds, thousands, probably millions of years, because it is the most fundamental form of this life. But now being able to tap in, now being able to use technology, devices to actually help us, support us, influence us, improve our lives in all sorts of levels. And you are really one of the thought leaders in this space. You're one of the persons who made this possible. So I really, really want to acknowledge you. And guys, if you agree with me, please drop a 1 in the comments to share a little bit of love to Dr. Carolyn McMakin, because what she has created is actually changing not only our lives, but changing so many, many lives. So it's a life work. And I really want to say thank you so much for all you're doing. And thank you especially to be also here tonight on this call with us. So we really, really honored to have you here. So I would just, without further ado, just give it to you so you can dive deep in the presentation, because we have amazing things to say today, not only about this technology, but also about a new device here, which I'm holding in hand. And actually it falls into mud yesterday, and I didn't clean the mud because I like my Healy to be unique. And we are a new company with a unique technology. And I'm telling you that far, it is so freaking powerful. And I just told Caroline, I put it on my body, on my organs, and I can actually feel my organs having a party. I don't know what's going on with this magnet field, but it seems to be super, super strong. So I'm really excited to hear more about it and to hear from you. Thank you so much for being here, Caroline. So over to you.
Thank you for the kind introduction. This is 27 years worth of work using frequencies, and there are 2 presentations. One is, I'm going to share the screen and see if I can get the MagHealy one. Let's see what that one does. There we go. The first one is about the MagHealy, and the language about MagHealy has to be fairly specific. We've been using frequency-specific microcurrents since 1995, so it's been around almost 30 years. And the the shift came when I saw the Healy for the first time in Germany 5 years ago and asked them, could we take 2 Healys, put them together and run dual frequencies? And the answer came back in 3 days from the technical people and the marketing people. The answer was yes. So frequency-specific microcurrent, especially for the team that's been using the Healy, is an entirely new paradigm using 2 frequencies and resonance to change health. And my goal has always been to change lives. The most important thing, honestly, besides the fact that the frequencies have to work, the most important thing is regulatory compliance. FSM and frequencies cannot make any claims about being able to diagnose, cure, mitigate, treat, or prevent any condition or disease. And that this is in the US. We made this agreement with the FDA, but every country has regulatory agencies that oversee the claims that are made for different medical technologies. So the statements and techniques taught in this seminar were inspected by the FDA, our regulatory body, and no changes to the material were required. The use of frequencies as a therapeutic tool has not been evaluated by the FDA or any regulatory body. It is FSM's intention to be in compliance with all regulatory agency requirements. And according to the FDA, which is the regulatory body in the United States, I am a clinician sharing my clinical experience with other clinicians and patients in order to encourage education and research of novel techniques as a matter of free speech. So I'm not making any claims. I'm just telling you what we do with this. And the devices are separate from the frequencies. The devices in the US have a 510(k) approval in the category of TENS devices for the treatment of pain, and no claims are made for the devices beyond pain management. Now, Pulse DMF has a slightly different regulatory status. So you have to ask what would happen to your life and your health if you could reduce inflammation and stress, harmonize your being and your body, balance autonomic function, and increase cellular energy by 500% quickly without drugs or side effects. And there was a reasonable mechanism of action and some data. Well, frequency-specific microcurrent is the technology that is used in the MagHealy, and it's a new tool. You probably didn't know you needed, especially if you've been using the Healy, that does something that you didn't think was possible. Now, the history of the use of frequency-specific therapies were developed in the early 1900s by MDs and osteopaths in the US, the UK, and Germany, and used by thousands of physicians until around 1934. In 1910, the Flexner Report suggested that medicine should become standardized by establishing standard medical education, reducing the number of medical schools, especially Black medical schools, eliminating non-pharmaceutical and unscientific, in quotes, approaches. And the effects of the Flexner Report were not fully implemented until about 1934. Come on. Homeopathy, traditional osteopathy, eclectic medicine, electromagnetic therapies, and physiomedicine, botanical medicine were all derided. The report also concluded that there were way too many medical schools. The Flexner Report caused the closure of all but 2 Negro medical schools and the reversion of American universities to male-only admittance to accommodate a smaller admission pool. Medicine became the realm of white males and pharmaceuticals. Okay, looks like I can only change them that way. So medicine labeled electromagnetic therapies as fakes, which is why we have to be so careful about regulatory compliance. Drugs and surgery would to be the only tools of medicine. Nutrition, herbs, homeopathy, and frequency therapies were outlawed, and every healthcare intervention except for prescription medication and radiation were outlawed. Physicians who use these tools would lose their license to practice. The devices went into the back rooms. The research and the history were lost. If you've ever had to bury your father or grandfather, you know that when you went to his library, you didn't know what those papers and books meant. So they went either on the trash heap or in the fireplace, or they were donated someplace. But all the research about how the frequencies were developed, how did they know in 1922 that 396 hertz would be the frequency that consistently would resonate with the nerve? And the practitioners who continued to use these devices were persecuted. So I met George Douglas in 1991. MagHealy wanted to know the story. So George Douglas met Harry Van Gelder in 1977. Van Gelder was an osteopath and naturopath from Australia and the UK who bought a practice in Canada in 1946. That practice came with a device that was made in 1922, and that device came with a list of frequencies. So the provenance is the device from 1922, covered up with a sheet that came with a practice in 1946. In 1983, George Douglas worked with Van Gelder in his office for 3 months and brought a copy of the frequency list home and put it in a drawer. I've never seen the original 1922 device, ever. So I finished chiropractic college in 1994 when I was 47. George Douglas found the list in a drawer in 1995 and had me start using it on a patient. He suggested we use the frequencies with the original 2-channel microcurrent device because Van Gelder's machine had 2 channels, one for condition, one for tissue. I have no idea how the frequencies were derived, but we're really not sure how they work. We do know the 1920s equipment was not microcurrent, and the 1920s therapy was not FSM. Van Gelder's system used one frequency to resonate with a tissue and one frequency to resonate with a condition that caused interference with the proper function of that tissue. So the theory is, if the interference was removed, then the tissue would return to its natural state of harmony and balance and function. So we first used them in 1995 to treat muscle pain and found out that they worked. Not only did they worked exceptionally well, to the point that I had to teach them in 1997, January 19th of 1997, to find out if the effects were reproducible. And by June of 97, we knew that they were reproducible. We had 10 practitioners who bought devices from a distributor. And by June of 1997, we knew the effects were reproducible. So then I had to keep teaching it because we were treating things like nerve and muscle pain that were untreatable. 1998, we figured out, more or less by accident, that inflammation in the nerve, using the 2 frequencies to reduce inflammation in the nerve, would treat nerve pain. 1999, we found out, more or less by accident and good guessing, that if you reduced inflammation in the spinal cord, it would reduce full body pain that manifests itself as fibromyalgia. The frequency benefits and effects are teachable and reproducible. So after 25 years, we have a good idea of what frequencies are useful to treat what tissues to relieve pain and improve function and harmony in different tissues. And the research in animals and humans and the clinical results have accumulated over the next 20 years. So clinical use of the specific frequencies is low risk. The frequencies either work or they don't work. If they don't work, they just have no effect. There is nothing for them to resonate with, which makes it possible to release an over-the-counter device like the MagHealy. You may have side effects, but they're usually transient. They've always been transient, and our students observe precautions and contraindications. Fortunately for me, medicine's pragmatic. There's efficacy first, and then they figure out the mechanisms later. We used willow bark for thousands of years, and then aspirin was distilled, and that was used for hundreds of years, and they still didn't know why it worked until Upjohn developed ibuprofen and figured out the prostaglandin effects that were making aspirin and willow bark and ibuprofen effective. It is worth noting that over 80% of the medications in use today have a mechanism of action that is not known, well understood, or proven. So the mechanism by which this works is not that important. So what is resonance? Resonance is the tendency of a system or a bond. So we're saying that the frequencies used together create resonance with the condition and the tissue. That's very specific. Resonance is the tendency of a system or a bond to oscillate at large amplitudes in response to some frequencies and not others. At the resonant frequency, very small forces can produce very large amplitude vibrations. So they found out in the 1700s that soldiers marching in step can collapse a bridge. Resonance explains the frequency effect when a singer like Julie Andrews sings a note that breaks a lead crystal glass. The reason that trick works is that there is a precise frequency that holds lead atoms together in a 70% lead crystal matrix. The lead atoms begin to vibrate with the singer's note as long as that note is precise. It's exactly the frequency that holds lead atoms together. And if she can hold it long enough to get the lead atoms to vibrate, then the lead crystal glass simply comes apart. Resonance is difficult to describe, but you all know it when you see it or feel it. The resonance of the music, when you go to a symphony hall, moves the audience as if you're all one. The music fills you with harmony. And when there is harmony, and when it's perfectly tuned, that resonance flows throughout the hall. Two tuning forks are tuned to the same frequency will vibrate in resonance with each other from across the room when one tuning fork is struck. So you hit this tuning fork, and this one will begin to hum without being touched by anything but the frequency that's coming from the first one. And if you have a little ball up against it, that ball will bounce without ever having been in contact with the first tuning fork, simply by the effect of resonance of the frequency. It's incredibly powerful. There was a bridge called the Tacoma Narrows Bridge. It was particularly flexible, and it was placed across a narrow strait There was a mild rainstorm that brought wind and rain. Then the wind caused the bridge to sway. When the swaying reached the resonant frequency holding the bridge together, the bridge came apart. Resonance destroyed the bridge, not the force of the wind. It wasn't 100 miles an hour. It was 30 miles an hour. So this is what happened because of resonance. You started out with a bridge with cars and people on it. And then the bridge began to sway, and you see the sine wave beginning. And eventually the frequency of the swaying of the bridge reached the frequency that held the bridge together. And the bridge simply came apart in a 30-mile-an-hour wind because of resonance. That's how powerful resonance is. So how does resonance affect the human body? Every moving electron in the human body creates a magnetic field, and your body is full of moving electrons. Your body has a magnetic field, and every electromagnetic bond, the bond that holds these electrons together, has a frequency at which it resonates. This is an important principle. Every organ in the body is part of that field. This is the electromagnetic field around the heart. This is the electromagnetic field around the brain. Every receptor on every cell has a frequency to which it resonates. So every chemical, mechanical, and electrical bond has a frequency at which it resonates. Magnetic fields do not stop. They have no edges. They connect, they merge, and interact. And George Douglas, who gave us the list of frequencies that he got from Van Gelder, believed that your soul resonates with the material world to create your physical body across time and space. Interference happens if something interferes with the resonance. It creates imbalance, lack of harmony, and loss of proper function because the magnetic influence cannot travel effectively between the substances that are involved, and proper function, typical function, is interfered with. So it creates imbalance, lack of harmony, and loss of proper function. So if one or two violins are out of tune, the harmony disappears. You may not know why or how, but you can tell. You know when there's a problem. So balance and harmony, the theory behind resonance interventions is that interference inhibits proper function by creating loss of balance and harmony. Newtonian physics describes large objects, but it falls apart at the molecular level. It's just not true at a molecular level. For us, your body is a large object made of molecules, atoms, subatomic particles that are held together by electromagnetic bonds. Every bond has a frequency at which it resonates, whether it's citric acid or insulin. Every bond within that chemical in your body, within that structure in your body, whether it's fascia or nerve or cord or brain or gut, every bond has a frequency at which it resonates. The human body is a quantum biological system, and living tissue is biochemicals that are held together by electromagnetic bonds, and every bond has a frequency at which it resonates. So water lines the gel inside cells and forms structures that act very much like a semiconductor. This is a silicon crystal, and it has a hole in a particular place that's there all the time that allows a controlled rate of flow of electrons, and the water in your cells and in the fluid in your cells does the same thing. It creates a semiconductor that makes your body open to resonance the same way as if it was a computer chip. So your body looks solid, but it's an electromagnetic system, and the cells function as a semiconductor network, conveying current, charge, and information. So biological resonance explains the effects on living tissue. Drugs and nutrients act like keys in a lock to change membrane receptors and change intracellular function. Right? So your cell reacts to something out here, and the answer that it produces based on genetic expression is to create inflammation. Ibuprofen comes in and changes this receptor, so it changes the response here or here, and it stops the inflammatory response. Ibuprofen doesn't interfere out with the inflammation, it changes the cellular response. Okay, you with me? All right, I can get this. So biological resonance, the frequencies appear to act like the key remote, your key fob, opening a lock with an electromagnetic signal. Frequencies appear to change membrane protein configuration and cell function electromagnetically with a frequency-specific signal. It changes the receptor just like ibuprofen does and stops the inflammatory response. This is the theory. By changing this receptor electromagnetically, just like your key fob. And the response is very specific. Frequencies act as if they change signaling. We don't have proof yet. They act as if they dissolve scar tissue crosslinks. And you notice that your key remote sends a signal exactly and only to one car. Your key fob opens only your car, even if there are 12 identical cars in a row. Your remote opens only your car with a signal frequency, single frequency tuned exactly to your car. FSM seems to work like that with specific problems in specific cells. It's very specific. This is based on 25 years of research. So how do we know that frequencies affect biological tissue? It's science. The thing you do in science is you observe. It's like, wow, we changed nerve pain. I wonder if it will work again. Then you verify it. Yep, you take an objective measure of nerve pain, and then you repeat it. And that allows you to predict it, that if you have nerve pain and you do this thing, you observe that nerve pain will go down. Second basic principle of science is you can't throw out the data. The data is this, your observation, if it's measured and repeatable and done properly. You can't throw out the data if it doesn't match your model. The third basic principle of science is you change that model and start over. It's how it works. So we had animal research that showed that there was a 62% reduction in lipoxygenase-mediated inflammation, 30%, and this was a blinded animal trial, not done on blind animals, the researchers were blinded, 30% reduction in COX inflammation, which is equivalent to injectable Toradol. And it was a 4-minute time-dependent response, right? So half the effect was there in 2 minutes, the full effect was there in 4 minutes. It's right here. And she inserted a placebo frequency, and that frequency was just 40 hertz on A and 00 on B. This demonstrated clearly that you had to have 2 channels in order to have an optimal effect. This was done in 2003 at University of Sydney. Frequencies alone and single frequencies. No other frequency had the effect. Current alone had no effect. None of our other frequencies had an effect. We had frequencies reduce inflammation and pain. This was fibromyalgia, full body pain. We used the frequency to reduce inflammation in the spinal cord. The pain was reduced from a 7 to a 1 in 90 minutes. All of the inflammatory cytokines were reduced in 90 minutes. Fibromyalgia recovery was individualized and took up to 4 months. All of the cytokines were reduced at statistically significant levels. The pain was reduced significantly. In medicine, cytokines are hard to change, and when they change slowly over months. And then they returned at a much lower level. How does a frequency do that? Well, all of these cytokines were produced inside cells, and only changes in cell signaling could normalize them all so quickly. Cell receptors respond to external factors like bleeding, bacteria, tissue fragments that activate kinases inside the cell that change transcription factors, and that creates a cellular response. The data suggests that cell receptors responded to a frequency signal that turned that inflammation off. And we know from research that pulsed electromagnetic fields reduce inflammation. This was published in a medical journal, Bioelectricity, in 2019. FSM is not about the device. The MagHealy is an FSM device, but it's about the frequency effect. The frequencies were very specific. Inflammation reduces pain, redness, and swelling, but doesn't change range of motion. The frequency to reduce scarring reduces scarring, increases range of motion, but doesn't change pain. Hemorrhage stops bleeding, and pain in the menses prevents bruising after surgery. There's one frequency that the only thing it's good for is reducing kidney stone pain. And you have to be asking, how do specific frequencies change condition? So we have these observed effects: immediate changes in tissue, immediate changes in sensation that stop when the frequency is finished, and then there are lasting effects. So how does science explain the observed effects of FSM? Same principle: observe, verify, repeat, predict, observe. You can't throw out the data if it doesn't match your model, and we have 27 years of observation. So we had to change the model and start over. We know that the current by itself increases cellular energy. This was proven in 3 different papers that were published. Pulsed EMF fields also increase cellular energy. So we didn't know that the MagHealy magnetic field will increase cellular energy, and that made it transferable. FSM changes tissue quickly, but it needs manual and exercise therapy, nutrition, and lifestyle changes for lasting permanent results. So correct frequencies create instantaneous changes and change the state of the tissue. And that's why your small intestine, you could feel it in your organs. The changes can be permanent when the patient's metabolism, attitude, mechanics, diet, and lifestyle support the change in state. So water is completely stable as ice as long as the surrounding field is 0 degrees centigrade. It's completely stable as a liquid as long as it's between 0 and 100. And it's completely stable as steam, but it's the milieu, it's the patient's lifestyle and nutrition that create the stable state. So frequency-specific treatment is established since 1997. It's low risk, it's reproducible, it is teachable. I teach courses to professionals. It's reliable, it's non-invasive, it's comfortable. So when you harmonize blood flow, this is what happens when we treated diabetic neuropathy. It was healed in 6 weeks in 6 to 11 treatments. All of the sensation was normalized, and he did not have his toe amputated. That's one of the things that the magnetic field was good at. This was shingles in the ophthalmic branch of 5. The patient was pain-free in 1 hour. There was no return of pain, and the lesions were gone in 48 hours. That was published. These are our published papers. So when I talk about a protocol that is to harmonize neck pain, this is the data that supports it. It's a published paper. Low back pain, that was published in 2004, 8 years chronic. It took 6 treatments in 6 weeks. So this is not a one-visit fix. And it reduced the patient's low back pain. Neuropathic pain, fairly straightforward, is actually the easiest thing we treat. Scar tissue in the ulnar nerve, that resolved in 3 sessions after 11 years of failed therapy. Low back pain, this was published in India, and it was a huge group, and they had statistically significant effects. Delayed onset muscle soreness is a model for new injuries. And the thing with delayed onset muscle soreness is there is no other effective treatment. This was the treated leg. This was the sham leg. There was no doubt at 48 hours that FSM was effective. It reduced scar tissue in burn patients, which is the most serious kind of scar tissue. So what would happen to harmony, balance, health, and everything you do if you could reduce lipoxygenase-mediated inflammation by 62%, COX-mediated inflammation by 30%, and all inflammatory cytokines, and increase cellular energy? What would it do to harmony in your field? So FSM, as the MagHealy, is a new tool. You probably didn't know you did it, that does something you didn't think was possible. The resonance effect has been translated into German, Mandarin, French, Polish, English, obviously. So frequency-specific microcurrent will change your life forever. And so will the MagHealy. I'm very excited to have it be present for you. All right, we have another, let's see if I can get this to work. I have another presentation, and I'm going to have to take a minute break just to go to the restroom. Come on.
Okay, no problem.
And
thank you so much.
I'll let you share. What the hell is wrong with this? It won't let me share that screen. Well, let me try this. There we go. Nope, that's the wrong one. Share, stop share. Let's try that. All right.
Super.
Now, screen share. And I can choose this one. And that will be, nope, wrong one. I'll let you talk for a minute.
Yes, so the previous presentation, I think this is amazing, Dr. Carolyn McMakin. I feel the data, the research you conducted there is absolutely amazing. And that's specific for FSM, correct? So
that is specific for the MagHealy. So the screen share is, there it is. No, it's 5-day core. This should be the correct one. And it's not. Right. I have both presentations open. Come on, there we go. And Let's try that one.
Well, guys, maybe as long as you're searching, I can share a little bit of the testing experience.
You guys share. I will be right back. I have to use the restroom.
So quickly, guys, I'm just want to explain you a little bit what I experienced now about the MagHealy. So the presentation now, what she done, obviously this is conducted through the past years of research of especially FSM, right? This is the 2-channel frequencies that come to you basically. And based on her research, these are the results you have. So the MagHealy basically have also FSM inside, right? But it's not with the microcurrent. They use actually a conductor, a magnetic conductor, which is inducing those frequencies with a magnetic field into your body. And Caroline has a specific set of frequencies in 2 program pages in the MagHealy as well. And you have programs, for example, for the vagus nerve, for stress, for relaxation, for digestion. And I really don't know how to describe it because I've never felt anything like it before. But really, when you have the programs of her program categories, you put it on your body, you put it actually close to your throat or on your belly, and there's something happening. So I describe it almost like there's a party happening in my stomach. You know, when I put it on the organs, there's some powerful field that you can really feel, and this is really something. I don't know, you know, it's we have to see and experience it actually how it will be, because it's the same thing what happened with Healy when it came out, right? 3 years ago, nobody had any clue what this little thing is actually able to do. 3 years later, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of experiences and testimonials of people experiencing and understanding how the thing is working. So, and this is really exciting because now we have a new product, which is it's a very different kind of way of applying technology, applying this thing in our body. So we will see, but the feeling I have, it's extremely powerful. This is, I can tell you. And also the space, there's another version of it. There's the atmosphere. And you basically, right now I have it next to me, and it's running a program called Prosperity. And it's basically a magnetic field that is now in the space around 1.80 meter radius. So everybody in this room is kind of affected by it. And it has really, it's inducing frequencies into the space. So you can harmonize the space. You can put it in the room with your children, or when you have animals, for example, for sleeping. You know, the other night I was in a place, we had a cell phone tower on the roof, and I'm telling you, like I maybe I'm thinking about it, I don't know, but I feel like I'm super affected by it. So I'm waking up with almost like a hangover, like maybe I'm not getting my deep sleep. So I'm using this program called electrosensitivity, and I put the thing under the bed. And the next morning I wake up, I jump almost out of the bed. This is no joke. Like I'm jumping out of the bed. I feel amazing. I'm not feeling affected by this. Maybe it's a mental thing. I don't know exactly, but it's in my subjective opinion of what I'm testing right now. It's super powerful. And I could see before in the comments also, Doc Steve, he has amazing experience. There's some therapists, they're using it already, also activating the water. So far it seems like this thing is really lifting the roofs of expectations. So it's really amazing.
And are we going? FSM does not have the same protocol as the Healy does. I don't know. I had both screens open. I don't know what happened to the FSM science screen, but the Healy has protocols from Nuno Nina. And there's single frequency. They do very specific things, and has names like prosperity, and it affects a whole different field than FSM. FSM I have developed on the physical body, and if I could find the protocol. If I could find the PowerPoint that is, oh, there it is. That is the science of FSM, then it would, come on.
Carolyn, I think you have to stop sharing and then share again. Then you can share it gets stuck at this screen. Yeah, stop sharing from your Zoom and then reshare again.
I did that. I just can't get it back to, let's see, I'll know by the first side. No, that's the same one. Now I did stop sharing, and there, so here we all are. Hi. And
Okay.
I had both screens open. The science of FSM has been developed over years, and it's very similar to what I shared about the MagHealy. We started in 1997 and published the first paper in 1998. And I was determined that frequency-specific microcurrent would follow the rules of medication of the medical research community. So we did it the medical way. We published papers first, and then in 2010, there was a medical textbook published by Elsevier, which is the largest medical textbook company in the world, in 2000, and everybody wanted a consumer book. Well, the resonance effect is the consumer book. And in medicine, if you publish the consumer book first, you'll never have credibility. So I didn't. When the time was right, I had a phone call from the publisher. And the publisher said to me, I've had Crohn's disease for 17 years and nothing works. I get flare-ups all the time. One of your practitioners just put me into remission in 2 weeks, and I want to know why I haven't heard of you. And I said, well, I don't have a book. And he said, well, I can fix that. So he led me through the process of producing the book proposal and publishing the resonance effect. So the published papers that we have cover everything from inflammation. The paper that was done on cytokines was done by the National Institutes of Health. One of their biochemists did the data. He's the best in the world. The data that we had at University of Sydney was blinded. The first day, she did 10 mice, and there was a 70% reduction in lipoxygenase-mediated inflammation. And LOX-mediated inflammation is what gives you gastrointestinal problems and asthma, and it works in a very particular kind of distress in the body. And 70% was impossible because she'd been doing this research for 20 years and had never seen device, any treatment, medical or prescription or non-prescription, that reduced inflammation by more than 45%. So she sent everybody home, brought everybody back the next day, and put them all in separate rooms with paper over the windows. So they were all blinded to what was going on. And that was blinded research. And all the other papers that were published low back pain and neck pain and shingles. There's one frequency that's very particular for shingles. So I don't deal with prosperity. I don't deal with things I can't prove. I deal with physical complaints. We've learned how to treat the vagus nerve. We've learned how to treat the GI system. We've learned how to treat the low bowel, the small bowel, constipation, the brain. The protocols for the brain work. We have protocols that work for stroke. And that's the science of FSM. And it's been my mission to heal patients, especially with problems that are not possible to fix any other way. Those pictures you saw of diabetic neuropathies, the man with the gangrene on his toes, that is impossible to fix. He would have had that toe and probably the other one amputated within 3 or 4 weeks before it made him really sick all over his body. And it was fixed in 12 weeks.
Dr.
Like,
Carolyn,
yeah,
I have a quick question.
sure.
So now these are research based on the FSM with microcurrent, correct?
Yeah.
What do you think the magnetic field will have similar effects?
Well, we know that because probably 6 or 7 years ago, we got a magnetic converter that would convert frequency-specific electrical pulses into frequency-specific magnetic pulses on 2 channels. It hooks up to our device, the Custom Care, and it converts it into a small magnetic field compared to the MagHealy. And we've been using that for 5 years. It does exactly what it is alleged to do. So if I wake up with nerve pain in my hand, which I do, I mean, I'm 75, I wake up with things. I put one puck behind the nerve where I know the pain is coming from. I put the other puck in my hand, and I go back to sleep. And when I wake up, the nerve pain's gone. So we know that magnetic fields work with 2-channel devices.
And how strong do you know or feel or think is the magnetic field of the MagHealy? You say it's like even stronger than the ones you tested?
Oh, absolutely. I talked to the people from MagHealy, and the field is much stronger. I can't tell you the exact amount because it fell out of my brain. I think it's on the order of 10 times as strong.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's a mission. It's a passion. When you can take someone with back pain and neck pain, the things that make people's lives miserable, and you can get rid of it in 60 minutes. How could I do anything else? How in conscience could I do anything else? So the opportunity to expand the reach of this technology and this relief to hundreds and hundreds of people with the MagHealy has been just a real blessing.
Yes, yes. And I think this is also really the opportunity of every single one here, you know, who shows up as well, to actually understand the power of what's behind this technology, of what's behind this knowledge, and the ability of all of us to actually share it, you know, and talk about it. And the information we absorb today from Dr. McMakin is something we can give to more people, right? And this is like now in our hand. And this is, again, guys, why I see like we are so blessed to be in this time, in this model of actually social selling as well, which has, in my opinion, still nothing to do with selling, but it's actually a transfer of information and a way of us, you know, going out with information and share to other people and make other people experience it. Because if we already know how good it is for thousands and thousands of people, we can expect it will be good for millions of more people. And we have a massive opportunity here really to help a lot of people.
I'd say the best strategy is use it on yourself first, and then share your story. You're not selling a device. I want you to all think about that. You're not selling a device. You're selling relief.
Yes.
You're selling you're sharing your experience.
Because sharing is caring.
You're giving other people the opportunity to believe you, not believe you, and you're able to tell your story. Well, I had back pain and it went away, and you have back pain, so you could do this. And the financial benefits accrue to you because you did the right thing for the right reason. And my ethic when it comes to FSM is very clear. And the reason I work with Time Waiver is because they share that ethic. I've never worked with a company that had the grounding in community and efficacy and honor and integrity that Time Waver does. And it permeates from the top down.
You know, this is so amazing. Your words are beautiful to hear. And I just would like to share also something to you from this community, because maybe there are things you don't know. You know, the community itself is consisting out of all sorts of people. You know, we have spiritual people, we have therapists, we have single mothers, we have taxi drivers, we have everybody you can imagine in this community. And the beautiful thing about this technology and what it did to this community is 99% of the people who are doing this are doing this for the exact same reason that you just mentioned it. And this is really the beautiful culture of, and you say it before, because it's all energy, it is from the top down. And this is what everybody in this field got, you know, the same way, because the people are experiencing something. And, you know, when we start with experiencing this, we have no idea what it actually is until we experience it, what it can do to us. And then it becomes kind of a responsibility, an obligation, almost like a duty to go out and share it to more people. And you said it exactly right, you know, the financial you can gain from it is coming not from a perspective of the intention of making more money, but of the intention of creating an impact in more people's lives. And this is exactly what we have here. And this is why it's so beautiful. And this is why also over 300 people show up here today. And they're not want to know, like, what's the next device I can make more money on? They are craving for knowledge, education, and wisdom to understand more how is this working. And this is why your sharing of this information is so tremendously important to the people here, because they are able to share it then to more people. So, and this is really, I consider the whole thing here as a massive blessing, as a new paradigm of a time where we're in, where it's the most important that's ever been around to make people free, independent, and more powerful in their own ability to choose, you know, no matter if it's in the business way and become independent from decisions they can do, or in their own health and well-being, right? And this is what this technology is giving you. It gives you a vehicle to create awareness for yourself. And that's why I gave you this in the props in the beginning and the acknowledgement, because you are a massive participant and creator of this wave of knowledge, of this new paradigm of amazing light workers, self-healers almost, like, and people who go out and spread something that we haven't known before, you know, and information is power and knowledge as well. So again, thank you so much. It's absolutely tremendous.
Oh, my pleasure. FSM is my mission. It's not my job. It's my mission. Is our mission statement is to help every patient who wants to be helped. They don't even have to be in pain, but to help every patient who wants to be helped by training people who can help them, and to teach, research, and write about FSM in such a way that it thrives. And I think with MagHealy, we've created something that is safe for the general public. And that's been my goal for years. And it allows your people to do good for one patient, 2 patients, 200 patients, people, not patients, 2 people. And that's my goal for all of them, is to be able to help people with anything that's on the list, to harmonize their body, remove the interference, and create wellness. That's my goal.
Dr. McMakin, one of the questions that people are asking is, what is the major difference between the various PEMF devices out there, like PEMF MAT, as compared to MagHealy? Can you share some of your insight?
The biggest difference with all of them, most of the pulsed EMF devices rely on that one slide that showed that pulsed EMF by itself increases ATP. So if you give a cell more energy, it's going to do something better. With FSM and the MagHealy, we give the cell more energy, but then the frequencies tell the cell what to do with it. reduce inflammation. That is a specific command from like your key fob. You open your door with your key fob or your key. You open the door with the key fob. The pulsed EMF increases energy, and the frequency tells a specific tissue what to do with it. So that's the biggest difference with the frequency specific. All the other magnetic devices are non-specific. I mean, Healy has a list of frequencies. They're one channel. With FSM, there's a channel to remove the imbalance, and there's a channel to address a tissue that is imbalanced or without harmony. So that's
wow,
the big.
That's crystal clear. That's crystal clear. Yeah. Thank you so much, because a lot of people are wondering. And so with my understanding is with the MagHealy, there's 24 different applications addressing different specific area, and each of the program has dual frequencies that address the specific area. So it's crystal clear, and it's always mind-boggling. I've been doing a lot of researches, and some of the PEMF mats or device out there are selling for, like, is it $4,000, $7,000, $8,000? And so if people even just take the time to research into the technology and to understand the difference and then make the right decision for themselves. Thank you.
Well, with frequency-specific microcurrent, we've been doing research on the frequencies for 25 years. 1996 to, that's 26 years. And we're really clear. We found out kind of the hard way through, I don't know, I think personally I've treated over 100,000 cases in 25 years. And it's, the proof is that sometimes the frequency I think is going to work is not the one that works. The frequencies always do what they're alleged to do, whether that's my intention or not. So we demonstrated over 25 years that the frequencies are very specific, and we are able to say that with some clarity. So
that's great. Another questions that came up was, can you use two Healys to achieve the same result?
No, because the Healys use Nino frequencies. And I honestly, I respect him, but I don't know anything about him. I have everything I can do to develop FSM, test FSM, use FSM on patients. And it's effectively in the MagHealy, there are two Healys, each one running FSM frequencies. So for the practitioners, the licensed people in your community, we hope in probably 1 or 2 years, there will be a professional version that you can program to do things that are not in the over-the-counter device. But right now, the 25 that I've, or 27 that I've put in the MagHealy are very specific.
Thank you for clarifying that. We have different regulations for the magnetic devices, which the MagHealy has different sets of regulations, and we have to keep compliance in mind to protect the company and not to misrepresent this for its uses.
We harmonize and balance. We don't treat. That's
right.
Right.
And the MagHealy is not a medical device, it's a wellness device also.
It's a wellness device. Yep.
Exactly.
It's exactly it.
So that's
what
important.
Are the other questions? I can see lots of them, but I don't.
Maybe you just pick another 2, 3, and then we know you have an appointment. So we let you go soon.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm going to answer a few questions. And well, one of the questions I'm interested is that just for the people here, for this presentation, we're focusing on Dr. McMakin's experience with FSM, but with the MagHealy, the FSM McMakin application is only one of the 4 major applications within the MagHealy. So there will be a separate presentation to go into the MagHealy in more details about the atmosphere applications, the water applications, the classic application. There's just a whole lot more. But here we're focusing, we're respecting Dr. McMakin's time. So one of the questions I have is that within the MagHealy, there's, for example, an application for sleep under classical application, under atmosphere application, under water application, and McMakin. So could you just tell us a little bit, maybe, what is the difference between using the different application for sleep?
Sleep, the frequencies should be the same. That program we developed, I don't know, 15 years ago. It works. You have to use it in bed. It's not something you run in the daytime because it will put you to sleep. And we've been running current into water for 20 years, and it works. We know that for sure. With the magnet, because a magnet has the ability to magnetize an area, there is no edge to a magnetic field. The same effect will happen with the atmosphere. So the water, we know there are soccer teams, there are football teams. We do it at our advanced. We put the electrical leads in a 5-gallon cooler, and we run the frequency for brain fog. I'm not sure what it's called in the Healy, in the MagHealy. And we run the frequency for emotional relax and balance and concussion and vagus. And we've been doing that for 15 years. So I know that you can charge water. The charge in the water will organize the molecules for about 12 hours. So you have to repeat it. And the frequencies are very specific. We've done all that work. That's the reason that Healy contacted me, and that we've done all the work to develop this product, is that the work has been done, the research has been done, and we know what those programs will do.
Now, another questions we have is that based on you're truly one of the legends, the legend of the industry, where do you see the future of frequencies therapy in the next 5-10 years?
And that's a good question. I think it depends on staying within regulatory compliance. That's the number one.
It's so important.
That if the regulatory bodies shut us down, we're done. For me, what we find as the future is it's spreading until it's so commonly accepted. I'm working on another book that's called Resonance Recoveries. So we have the resonance effect, and I want to tell the story of the people that recover by using frequency. And sometimes you need medication to go along with that, and that's all right. But it's a tool you can use to balance the system and get it to function properly. So I think that's the future, is getting it to more people. And my job is to get more papers published. We have a protocol in our world for phantom limb pain. There's no treatment for that. There's a protocol for thalamic pain. I've never had a failure, but I don't have anything published. So my future is getting this published so that we have support for it. Once it's published, then the regulatory agencies kind of can't do anything about it. So the first step is to get the MagHealy in the hands of the people so that they can experience the benefits. And it's, the concept of the 100th monkey, right? So
Yes,
once a community does something where the whole community does, it becomes part of the collective consciousness. And it's somehow accepted. It's normal. Well, of course, frequencies work. I know 6 people. So that's the future, is you all 300 of you and more, you all doing what you can do with the MagHealy, so that the concept that frequencies can create harmony, that frequencies can make people more comfortable, that frequencies can help people balance their field so they're healthier. That's and create wellness. That's the next step. That's the future. Once it's part of the collective consciousness, then there's no fight. Then it's easy.
It's beautiful. That's how you achieve world peace.
Yeah. Well, think about
and it's the resonance effect.
It's the resonance effect. Think about what happens when you have just one person who is in pain. They're grumpy, they're distracted, they don't do their job well, they're not nice to their family or their friends because their back hurts, a little bit cranky. What happens to the world when you get that person balanced, well, get their back harmonized? What happens to the world when that one person becomes well? It changes that person's world. Well, what if there's 100,000 people? There's 300 people here, there's 500 in your network. If each 500 treats one, that's a big ripple in the pond. If each 500 treats 100, we have the opportunity to change the health, the well-being, the balance of the planet by making that person cheerful, kind, more productive, more loving. That's, to me, that's the purpose.
And another question is that I do know that there's some practitioners here, and you have trained over 4,000 practitioners worldwide to use the FSM protocol with 25 to 27 years of experience. So one of the questions is that, can you comment a little bit the difference between going to see a practitioner and FSM practitioner versus getting a MagHealy with its non-medical applications? What is the differences, so that the people are clear about the difference?
The MagHealy is for harmony, balance, wellness. It's a wellness device. It's not prescription. For the practitioners, if you go to frequencyspecific.com, we have a 5-day comprehensive core. We have a 3-day pain and injury core. We have a 3-day neurovisceral core. And there they learn much more than the 25 protocols. They learn all the conditions, they learn all the tissues, and they learn how to put them together in a way that is, it's not something you usually think of. So if my shoulder hurts, I know for sure that the reason my shoulder hurts has something to do with the C5-6 nerve in my neck. So you treat the disc in my neck, you treat the nerve, then you treat the shoulder for mechanical balance, and you treat the tendons that have been injured because of the imbalance in the shoulder. And that's what the practitioners learn how to do. It's a huge amount of material, not because there's so much material, but because it's an entire change in the way you think. And then once the shoulder is better, you have to convince the brain not to be afraid of it. And you have to convince the cerebellum to coordinate the movement now that the muscles are better. And you have to convince or increase the secretions in the sensory cortex so that it knows how to initiate the movement now that all the muscles are working right. So don't be afraid of it. Learn how to coordinate it. Learn how to find it. And that's what the practitioners learn. There's a musculoskeletal part, and it's the same thing with the visceral. Treat the vagus, reduce inflammation, treat the small intestine. So the practitioners have a whole different world, and it's all on video. It's translated into 7 languages at this point. Kevin's done that. But the MagHealy is the most common conditions, and they are the conditions that make people's lives difficult. And it's the conditions that after 25 years, I know are safe for wellness, harmony, and balance. And that's what the MagHealy makes me so excited about. The fact that all of you have the ability, to change people's lives, change the world using what we've learned over 25 years. And when I say we, I mean my practitioners and my patients. And a lot of persistence and long hours and writing papers and books and all that. But to put it into a device that I can put in the hands of practitioners through your network is just an honor I wouldn't have thought of 25 years ago.
Yeah.
It's
Super.
truly, truly amazing. It's mind-blowing, like the value that we can share with people. And if I understand you correctly, Dr. McMakin, is that anyone can get a hands on the MagHealy and use the non-medical applications to take care of common issues. And obviously, if they need to specific issues, they should consult with their doctors, with their practitioners for specific help, right? We're not here to make any misrepresentation, but it's a good starting point. It's very affordable and can help a lot of people.
Yeah. And if the protocol doesn't work, then you consult a clinician of some sort that, you accept.
And one of my friends just told me they pay like $150 for one session of FSM therapy. And it's worth it if you need it, obviously, right? But so then our job is just to present the fact and let people choose. Okay, and I'm not going to say which one is better or who needs what. It's up to you. I think it's most important that we get in tune with our body. The more we get to know our body and we take care of our body, making sure that our bioenergetic field is rebalanced and restored, then we can do better.
Exactly.
Super. Dr. McMakin, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I just scrolled through the comments and the people just loved it, super grateful to have you and share this information. And maybe next time we can actually get up that presentation about the MagHealy. So we have another time.
We did the MagHealy presentation. It's the science of FSM that I didn't get to, but the MagHealy presentation is the one.
Let's do another one.
We do another one.
Works for me.
Maybe
We'll
guys, if you would like to have another session with Carolyn McMakin, maybe drop some hearts in the comments, and so we can be sure this is really what you want. Okay. I think it's pretty obvious.
Lots of hearts. Yes. Well done.
Right.
Thank you so much. I know that Dr. McMakin has another appointment and we have to end this call in a minute. Just thank you so much for your time and your generosity, sharing your heart with the whole wide world, and we will not let you down. And just for everybody, I've been sharing the link. Please, the recording will be available. Please watch it again and again and share it away.
Yeah, May, and thank you so much for getting this organized and allowing me to share this message to all of your network. This is exciting to me.
Super. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, May, for organizing. You guys are amazing. Thanks everybody for being here. Thank you guys. You can even unmute now and say goodbye if you want to.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Blessings.
Really appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you so much. 这些合作伙伴，我们可以留